Good morning, another day in the transfer window, another day of madness. Probably I've got my caffeine, I'm going to need it most likely. We're going to talk about a number of things this morning. Mason Mount to Manchester United, what's the latest there? Arsenal closing in on another signing after completing the Havertz deal. Newcastle, you're about to sign Tonali, we'll talk about that as well. A couple of Rangers striking discussion around that as well, with Dressers and another potentially who could come in to the football club, and Everton target as well in there. And of course we'll talk about another player who could leave Chelsea, who perhaps hasn't been spoken about as much. Before we get on though, please make sure you hit like and subscribe. Really helps us out, and we'll get on with a little bit of a review this morning. So let's talk about Mason Mount. We'll start with this. Manchester United are going to come back in close to the £65 million fee that the clubs are looking now to set to agree on. Mount will not sign a new deal with Chelsea. That has been the case now for a while, and wants to move to Manchester United. Has agreed to their long-term contract and the terms that are on offer there. Has told Ten Hag he wants to play for him. Has told Chelsea he wants to go there, and it's all down to the clubs now to find an agreement, and it's getting closer. You'll expect another bid by the end of this week for Mason Mount from Manchester United. That is incoming, and they hope to land him as soon as possible. Chelsea also had been in talks with Mount for a long time over a new deal, but it's not come to fruition. They've just not come to an agreement in the end, and that relationship is now kind of broken, and there's no way that that is going to happen. So Mason Mount will likely move to Manchester United in the next week or so as they push to complete that deal, with clubs now coming closer to an agreement. One midfielder that is on the move is Sandro Tonali to Newcastle, is set to be completed probably today. We did know that yesterday as per my report, that Newcastle were pushing for his signature. He wants the move as well. He's got a deal until 2029 and a fee that's going to be around the €70 million mark. Incredible signing for Newcastle United. This a real sign of the times as to where they are in the echelons of football. Signing guys like Tonali, one of the best young players in world football, leaving AC Milan for £70 million to join Newcastle United, or for around that £70 million figure, I should say. Absolutely unbelievable piece of business this for Newcastle. They moved fast, they pushed, they looked at Barella, they looked at Tonali, they had a consortium of people out there ready to go, and they're about to bring a phenomenal signing home back to St James's Park. Newcastle fans, you must be buzzing. Let me know in the comments below how you are feeling. Well, let's talk about Christian Pulisic, because he is set to leave Chelsea this summer. They really want him off the books. He's not really in the plans of Mauricio Pochettino. Pochettino has stated this with a number of players, that he'll happily work with players if they're there, because what choice is he going to have really, right? But we do know AC Milan are now pushing to try and sign him on a permanent deal. They'd like to bring him in. Knock-on effect of the Tonali fee, will they then bringing in these kind of guys like Pulisic? So look out for that in the next weeks. We do know that AC Milan have started a conversation with Chelsea. We do know that AC Milan have also had a conversation with Christian Pulisic's team as well, and there is a deal to be done there. The American winger now looks set to leave Stamford Bridge after what has been probably disappointing in his eyes, the outcome of what has happened since he's been there. He's certainly not maybe picked up or got to the place that maybe people thought he would. He's now found himself on the fringes. We thought he would go in January. We thought he would go in the summer previous, but he's now set to leave the club. It's not just AC Milan who like him, they are just the team on the front foot in this deal. So Pulisic is set to leave Chelsea Football Club, definitely on his way. Now AC Milan pushing to get that done, and other clubs likely to join the race as well. Chelsea, as we know, looking to cash in on a number of players, as they have done over recent days. How many players have left the football club? An unbelievable amount. Rangers pushing for striking options too. There's been lots of reports about Cyril Dessers, who isn't interested in a move to Rangers, is interested in a move to Rangers. I'll just report what I know at this point, and that is that move is still very, very possible. The club's been in talks for a while for the striker, and nothing on that front has changed. We'll see what happens in the next 24 hours or onward from there. But my understanding is Rangers are still very keen on Dessers and would like to bring him in for sure in this window. He's been a long-term target of the club, hasn't he? Number of bids have come in, and we do understand a certain number of bids, I think it's 2 now at this point from what I understand, have been knocked back, so to speak. Whether knocked back's quite strong language. I think there's just been ongoing discussions around a fee, and that will continue. So Rangers would still like him in. They've got Sam Lammers in there, but another striker is key for them in this window. A player's name that's doing the rounds that would be a phenomenal signing for Rangers in my opinion is a guy called Benny Traore from BK Häcken. He's a striker from the Ivory Coast. He scored 12 goals in 13 games. He's only 20 years old. And my understanding is he's wanted and coveted by a lot of clubs around Europe. Rangers obviously now being linked quite strongly to him as well. He would fit that kind of profile that they got from the Alfredo Morelos, right, who's now left the club. A young striker, not really known, who's a goal scorer. He's fast, he's pacey, he offers a lot up front. And 12 goals in 13 games for his club is not bad going at all. He's also capped at under 21 level and under 19 level for Ivory Coast, his country as well. So he's done a lot of work already to get eyes on him. And like I said, this is a position Rangers want to strengthen with multiple options. They have got Lammers in, as previously spoken about, going for Dessers, and could potentially bring in another as well, which would really give them a fit and firing front line for next season as they try to catch Celtic, who obviously have hired Brendan Rodgers in recent days and have gone back to their old manager to try and help him, asking him to continue the trend that Ange Postecoglou had of winning. They're just off the back of a treble there. Hatate still an option for a number of clubs in England, one to watch. Matt O'Reilly too, potentially could leave. Lilabada, another player who is wanted by a number of clubs, although would be a very strong Brendan Rodgers player in my opinion, and someone Brendan Rodgers would likely look at. Kyogo Furuhashi is in early contract renewal talks, as exclusively reported a couple of weeks ago. That's still the case, nothing more concrete on that at the moment, still all very early. But again, another player who's wanted around Germany and in England as well. And on Rangers for contract talks, Borna Barisic also in early contract discussions, nothing majorly concrete there either. It's just still early discussions, still discussing the length of the extension and the deal. His contract runs out in 2024. So there's a lot going on in Glasgow at this point in time. But let's talk about Everton Football Club, because they themselves will have a lot of business to do in this window after what was a disappointing campaign last year where they yet again ended up in a relegation scrap. Everton fans watching this, you will not want your side to go through another relegation battle. They are looking at Jack Harrison at Leeds United. This is a player that does interest the club, is my understanding. Everton obviously shopping in a certain market here due to FFP around the club, etc. And Jack Harrison has got a £16 million release clause, which would be something that Everton would look at quite excited, I think. He's certainly a player that's really talented, from Manchester City to Leeds United, and they want to strengthen the front end of the pitch, not just strikers but also wingers as well, perhaps potential for a 10 in there too. And Jack Harrison, with that £16 million release clause, is set to be activated, if not by Everton, by another club. So Everton looking at Harrison, another player that could really kick on for them under Sean Dyche, and could come into the club this summer. One to watch over the next week or so is Jack Harrison to Everton. This is now picking up a lot more steam. And Arsenal obviously completed the signing of Kai Havertz and are now looking to move for Julian Timber. That getting much closer. They'd like to bring the Ajax defender in. He's become a key target for the club, and personal terms are agreed, with the fee now getting closer between clubs. They're still negotiating for Declan Rice with West Ham in a deal over £100 million. That will take its time in a deal that size, but Arsenal calm and confident in Declan Rice wants that move as well. And then of course don't forget Romeo Lavia, who Arsenal also have a positive agreement with, positive conversations with him and his team, and will probably push for after they've completed the Rice saga, the Rice deal as well. So plenty to look out for this morning, plenty to look out for this week. Arsenal strengthening for sure. Chelsea is set to add hopefully another one in for them with Caicedo once these transfers are all knocked out the park. Look out past the 30th when the FFP date flies by. Look for that being more and more competent and moving forward. Tonali set to move to Newcastle. Huge deal, Newcastle fans. You must be excited. Rangers adding to the front line, and Everton also moving on targets as well. A lot going on. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheerio.